Live from the slightly twisted deck bar, it's the Poojie podcast with Justin Lemie.
Really excited about this guest that we have here today, producer from Good Morning Football on NFL Network. If you watch that show, have come across it, you may have seen him on the set a few times. Really cool guy to talk with, a lot of good stories about the set, and going to tell you a little bit about his experience on NFL Network with Good Morning Football. So Matt Hamilton, thanks for being here, man.
Appreciate you having me, Justin. Excited to join you.
For sure. So I know up there you had mentioned to me, Good Morning Football has been kind of down for right now with this whole coronavirus going on. What are you doing to kind of keep some normalcy with what you do with the show?
So we've still been working on some stuff behind the scenes. We're actually going to have some content we're putting out there for fans this afternoon, which I'm really excited about. We're going to be recording it in a little bit. And as the week goes on, we're going to be putting out more and more stuff. And hopefully, the goal is to get to a point where in the next week or two, we're starting to get to a more regular schedule and having some normalcy. It's going to be obviously, all remote content. All the hosts are going to be in their respective homes. But, we figured out a system now where we think we can get some stuff to the air that's going to, be on brand for us, bring some fun, bring some levity to everything, and talk some football. So we're really excited about it.
Yeah, for sure. I think much like you, a lot of people are really excited for sports to kind of get back. And with your job specifically being centered around the NFL and football itself, obviously there's a thirst from you guys to try and get back onto the set. So I guess take me through the process of producing a show. Kind of how does it work, getting the stories together? Just take me through that a little bit.
So it's a really collaborative effort. So for each day's show, we start. So we record the show 7 to 10 a.m. As soon as the show's over at 10 a.m., we all meet and we start working on the next day. So all the producers meet with the hosts. We kind of have a shell of a rundown that we put together for the next day's show, and we sit and talk through it. The hosts kind of have their input from there on what they like about the rundown, what they might want to change. We talk about it, we go through ideas, and then we start working. So I'll break off on a given day. I'll work on, usually between 1 and 3 segments a day for that next day's show. And a lot of the stuff I work on focuses on either player interviews. I'll write some questions that the host can ask, and I'll gather elements like social media from the player that we're having on, things like that. I also do a lot of the film breakdown stuff. So I work with Nate on his Burlesons. When he's breaking down, most recently we were working on some of these receivers from the draft. So I'll go through with Nate and we'll watch the film and we'll pick out plays that are representative of each player's skill sets. And, I'll work with some editors, put the graphics on that and get that to air. So, it's a fun job because you get to do a little bit of everything. Obviously we go hard into the football with the burlesque and stuff with Nate, and we have a lot of fun as well. So it's a fun chance to be creative and, go into that hardcore football stuff a little bit more too.
For sure. And being a viewer at home, it always looks really cool. Kind of the 4 on-air personalities always seem to have really good chemistry with each other. Is that really how it is on set and even off set? Are the, Kay Adams, Kyle Brandt, Peter Schrager, and Nate Burleson, are those 4 as close as they appear to be on set, even when the cameras aren't rolling?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the chemistry with the 4 of them is just incredible. And that's the thing is I can't take any credit as a producer for that. The first day we showed up on set back in 2016, the 4 of them had barely met each other. And we did a couple, dry runs and it was just instantaneous. Just the 4 of them meshed together so well. And they each bring such a unique skill set to the table that, I think, even though we had a lot of kinks to work out in the beginning, to me, I knew right away, this was going to work. And we needed to clean up our act on the production side, but these 4 have it figured out. It's going to be something special.
Yeah. And it's funny when you kind of look on social media and stuff, every one of those personalities has a pretty nice presence and has a little bit of a fan base too. Obviously, Nate Burleson being a former NFL receiver and stuff, how is that working alongside of him? I mean, I'm sure it's someone that you kind of watched growing up being a football fan. What's that been like transitioning from being a fan of Nate Burleson to being a coworker of Nate Burleson?
I mean, it's been fantastic. I actually met Nate back in 2012. I was interning at NFL Films, and they have an event called Broadcast Boot Camp, in which they bring in current and former NFL players and train them in broadcasting. And as an intern, I had to like kind of chaperone a group of 4 players for the week, and Nate was in my group. And so I worked with him, throughout that week. And he was, the way he is on the air, the way he's so genuine, so heartfelt, so, so giving, that's exactly how he is off camera as well. And that week he was like, take my number. If you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out to me. Like, I appreciate your help all week. Like, that's the type of guy that he is. And I was just an intern at that point. And then we connected again, actually, in Detroit. I was a scouting intern with the Lions for a year. And so I was up there in 2013, reconnected with him again. And then it just so happened 2 daes after I signed on to produce Good Morning Football, Nate signed on as well. So we just keep crossing paths with each other. And he's just couldn't ask for a better human being, honestly, to be connected with than Nate.
That's awesome to kind of have that relationship and have it cultivated over a few years throughout football and stuff. And I know you mentioned NFL Films and Detroit Lions, but take me back to kind of your time at Missouri as a college student and how you went from Missouri, what you did there, into where you are now as far as your path to becoming a producer on one of the highest rated NFL or sports shows on TV.
So in Missouri, I was a student coach with the football team there with the quarterbacks from 06 to 09. So I was there with Chase Daniel and those teams, and a little bit of the Blaine Gabbert's early years there. But yeah, so I worked, I worked alongside our quarterbacks coach, like helped develop the game plans, was sat in those film rooms and just tried to soak up as much as I can. And, was basically a dummy out there for the drills. When we did our individual quarterback drills, they would throw to me and I'd catch for them. And, I'd help run scout team, things like that. So I really, had a lot of on-the-job training in football and learned such a tremendous amount there, both from Chase and from our quarterbacks coach, David Yost, who's the offensive coordinator at Texas Tech right now. Those guys are two of the most brilliant football minds I've ever been around, and I was able to luckily just soak up so much from them. And I got there at the right time too. Luckily, we had a lot of success as soon as I got there. So it was incredible on the job training. And from there, went and coached high school football for a couple of years. I was thinking about, going into coaching. I was taking some grad classes in English education. I was thinking about coaching and teaching. And the opportunity came up for me to go to NFL Films. They needed somebody that could break down tape for the show Playbook. They needed somebody that was familiar with X's and O's to come down there and just try kind of help them out, coming up with concepts, helping pitch things to the host. So I ended up going down there, taking an internship at NFL Films, and just learned the TV side once I got in the door. I'd stay after work just to learn editing. I'd sit down with some of the producers there at NFL Films who are the best producers in the world. And luckily, they had the patience to kind of walk me through their editing software and, teach me a little bit about production. And, luckily I met some really good people along the way that helped me get to this point.
That's great to kind of take that path, like you mentioned, starting in coaching and scouting and things like that, and then just finding the opportunity to take advantage of with the editing and the film side of things, getting to where you're at now. So that's awesome. And just kind of a funny, I guess, more personal question as far as your fandom goes. I know a few years back, you and Jacksonville Mayor Lenny Curry kind of hit it off on Twitter, and he had you come down to Jacksonville for a little bit. Take me through that interaction. What about Jacksonville kind of drew you to the Jaguars? How did that all work?
So it really started the 2017 offseason after free agency, after, picking up Boye, picking up Calais. We had a segment on the show where the host had to talk about, who's having the best free agency. And I tried to pitch to each of them the Jaguars, and they're all kind of laughing at me like, why are you so big on the Jaguars? I was like, I just think they got a lot better, and I think this team's going to be really good. They finished 2016 really strong. They got a lot better. I think we should be talking about them. And it kind of like got under my skin a little bit. No one wanted to talk about the Jaguars. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to roll with them this year, and I'm going to start wearing my Jaguars hat, and this is going to be my team this year that I'm going to get behind because I really believe in them. And obviously we know how that season went. But yeah, as the year went on, I started, I'd have my Jaguars hat on in the background of the show, and Tad Dickman, the PR guy for the Jags, actually reached out to Peter Schrager and asked him, who is that in the background of the Jaguars hat? We got to send him some stuff. So they sent me some things. Started getting some tweets from some fans about it, including Mayor Lenny Curry, who watches the show religiously. And it just kind of took off from there. And, I fell in love with the team that year, just not just with the team, but with that fan base. It's as passionate as any fan base. Doing our show, we interact with every single fan base, and that Jaguars fan base is as loud, as passionate, and as hungry as any fan base I've come across. And it's hard not to fall in love with them. And, just how much this team means to them, how much this team means to that city. And I love the chip on the shoulder that fan base has too. They're just, they're as feisty as any fan base there is. And it's just something that I identified with immediately. And, I try to be respectful too, because I know I came on relatively late in the game. Some of these guys, most of these guys have been around since that team started and have been through a lot and seen a lot. And I don't try to pretend that I'm one of them. I have a lot of respect for what that fan base has gone through, but I'm happy that they've embraced me the way that they have, and I'm excited to be a part of that, a small part of that.
For sure, and I know Lenny Curry would have you down to Jacksonville anytime you wanted to come down. You guys seem like boys, so that's awesome. But I guess my last question for you, I see the baseballs on the wall in the background. Would you say, even though you work in football, would you say football is your favorite sport, or is baseball up there? What is, I guess, outside of your job responsibilities, what's your favorite sport?
Yeah, I mean, football has always been my greatest love, from the beginning. From when I was 6 years old, I fell in love with the game. That's always been number one, but I love baseball too. I'm a big Yankees fan. That goes back to my grandfather. Used to go watch Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig play when he was a kid. So it started a long time ago and it's been passed through the blood. But yeah, and I'm missing baseball right now. I actually got, for the first time, I got a little 20-game plan for the Yankees. I was going to go check out a lot of games this year. Obviously, that's not happening right now. But yeah, I would say after football, baseball's probably that next sport for me. But I love everything. I miss every sport right now. And hopefully we can get back to it sooner rather than later.
For sure. Yeah, like we mentioned earlier, I think a lot of us are missing sports, and then with your job being kind of directly tied to sports and content, and I'm sure right now kind of missing that pre-draft preparation from the players and breaking down that film and stuff, there's obviously a void there for content. So it's good to hear that you and the Good Morning Football team are kind of putting together content for the socials, and definitely going to be exciting to kind of see what unravels once all of this passes. And the NFL draft coming up, still scheduled as planned. So I'm sure Good Morning Football has something planned, or NFL Network has something planned for that. So that'll be exciting. But Matt, again, thanks for jumping on here and being a part of the show. All right.
Of course. I appreciate you having me, man. Take care.